Good afternoon, welcome to Grain TV. My name is Cody Bills, this is Logan Burgess. Today is April 4th and the grains moved a bit lower here this morning. Let's take a look at fire tips, see where we closed off the day here. Corn for May delivery down 11.5. Soybeans for May delivery down 7 3/4. Wheat in Chicago trading down 5 cents, and Kansas City wheat trading off 15 3/4. We did have export sales this morning. It seems like we had some decent news come out. Maybe you could walk through the numbers with us.
Yeah, absolutely, Cody. We did get those export sales out this morning for wheat. Those were a little bit light there from what the trade is expecting. Not by a huge margin, though. Corn and beans both had good reported values out this morning. 354,000 metric tons reported sold for old crop corn. 392,000 metric tons reported sold for old crop beans. Both those figures beat analyst expectations, so that was certainly good to see. But once again here, we did have the corn market closing lower here on the day. We made it through the previous lows that we had printed after Thursday's big report that really got all this selling started here. And it really seems like we've had the funds in here selling once again today, and we've been getting a lot of calls from producers, where's the bottom on this corn market? If we take a look here at a corn chart, you can see that right now we're kind of in uncharted territory, I guess, in terms of price action, and we're really not going to find a bottom until we get some good reported export sales here on that old crop. We've had some rumors. I know earlier in the week there were rumors that the South Koreans or the Japanese were in the U.S. corn market. We haven't seen anything confirmed, though, so until those show up, I think it's going to be a hard time for this corn market to really find firm footing.
Yeah, absolutely. But we definitely have moved into a more favorable pricing position for corn. Let's take a look and see how those export sales actually helped us move along toward the pace that the USDA is expecting here. Basically, right now, corn is continuing to lag behind the pace needed to meet the USDA's expectations by about 33 million bushels. And as you can see here, the yellow line is the pace that's needed. We were able to meet that yellow line, and keep in mind that the export sales that were reported this morning are actually sales for last week, and that was before we had this incredible sell-off.
Right.
So I can only imagine that next week we're going to have more firm export sales, and but I really do think if we want to see this corn market turn around, we're going to need to see sales of substantial size.
Right.
I think they're going to need to be some reportable positions here, something over 100,000 metric tons that we can really hang our hat on here.
Right.
and build a foundation for a rally going forward. But basically, corn here remains 33 million bushels behind pace. Didn't do too much in terms of changing. Soybeans, a slightly different story here. We fell just a little bit. Came in right about on par with analysts or with our expectations, the pace that's needed to meet USDA expectations. We're still 115 million bushels ahead of pace, but what we're going to notice is that pace is most likely going to start kind of petering out here as we move toward the end of the year, and as the Brazilian bottlenecks in moving their grain out of the country really start to wane here, and we've been observing that definitely in the last few weeks.
Yeah, right, Cody. Kind of turn back to corn here. The big thing on people's minds right now is demand in this corn market. As you said, with this huge price decline, we would expect export sales to pick up. And I know yesterday we talked about it a little bit on the show. This huge decline in price has also substantially helped out the ethanol crush margin. Right now we're seeing it near $2 in Iowa. Can you kind of break down what we're looking at here, what kind of to expect, I guess, moving forward?
Yeah, well, you talk about the demand side of corn, and obviously this sell-off has really improved the margins for these ethanol plants, and what we're seeing here, we actually revised the model is pointing to about coming in around 50 million bushels shy of the current USDA estimates. And really all season long we've been pointing to coming in around 100 million bushels shy of analyst estimates, but we do seem to be picking up the pace, and obviously the sell-off is really helping that out. The current crush is actually above the rate that we're using as a proxy going forward. So if we can maintain a current crush above $2, then that could be very positive for the corn used for ethanol. The other thing that I wanted to take a look at here is the corn-wheat spread. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we were observing the fact that wheat was actually discounted to corn about 40 cents, about 35 cents for an extended period of time. Well, that stocks report changed everything, and now what we're seeing here is corn actually discounted to wheat by 25 cents. You can see that's a huge swing in prices. That makes corn much more competitive when you're looking at feeding it. And the bottom line here is that what we've seen in the last couple weeks, or the last week of price activity, is really corn becoming much more competitive, getting into a position where we can really start to use up that extra 400 million bushels we found in stocks.
Certainly a lot of room here to be made up, I guess, if prices are going to move higher again. The bottom line is, though, that this report that we got last Thursday really seemed to kind of fundamentally change the old crop corn situation, in my opinion anyways. Just in terms of is the demand in this market, it's clear that for the quarter that ended March 1st, it really wasn't there. We're going to need to see lower prices to spur some demand. Like I said, though, we're going to have to keep an eye on export sales, ethanol production here moving forward. We need some confirmation that demand is back in the market at these prices if we're going to hold them.
Yeah, and I think it would be prudent and kind of smart to keep an eye on that FAST website for an ag service. They'll be posting any sort of big purchases, export sales. I think that sort of thing could actually trigger a little bit of a snapback here in corn prices. But until we get something like that, there's really nothing really substantial that we can hang a bullish price move on corn.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll be keeping you posted on that here. We tweet all day live on as the markets trade on Twitter. At GrainTV is where you can find us over there if you'd like live market updates. In general, though, Cody, I think that kind of wraps up the action that we saw here for a Thursday in the grain market. Thanks a lot for joining us on GrainTV, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for the weekly wrap-up.